Before getting into my comments in closing, it is true that Crystal Rule did say to Rosa Elementary, don't let my child read any books that don't fit the criteria. However, as is abundantly clear today and every one of the past 4 hearings, the district's view of the criteria and the rule's view of the criteria are very different things. And we will not attempt to discern her view of a book to take it away from her child. If she wishes her child not to read a specific book, she needs to tell us. But I'm not going to have we are not going to have any of our library folks try to decide what she means by inappropriate. This is the 5th hearing we've had. And as is very clear today, Marul is very critical of this process and critical of all of us that have been involved in the process. She has described in the past our process as corrupt, as parent unfriendly. But I'm going to remind the hearing officer and the folks that are here watching or listening, she has made 15 challenges to books in this district. Of the 15, the corrupt, parent unfriendly process resulted in 40% of her challenges, 6 of them being agreed to. We removed the books from the shelf. 2 other books she challenged, we did not remove, but she did not go forward to a hearing. So 8 of the books, apparently the corrupt, parent unfriendly process was successful. The only time the process apparently is corrupt and unfriendly is when she loses, because we disagree with her view of what kinds of books should be in the library. This book, When Aidan Becomes a Brother, is much like Melissa on gender identity. The book has been challenged in 9 of our 67 counties here in Florida. And Marul is correct, it's only been removed twice, in Escambia County and in Manatee County. Yet she would have Alachua County make its judgments based on those other 2 counties, which are very much more politically conservative than Alachua County. But ironically, it has also stayed on the shelf in 2 counties that are very, very different from each other. It was challenged in Santa Rosa County and stayed on the shelf in Santa Rosa County. And that's a very conservative county in western Florida. But we'll follow the lead of the other county that kept it on the shelf, Palm Beach County, which is one of the more liberal counties in this state. So if we are to judge whether to take a book off the shelf or keep it on the shelf by what other counties do, we will follow the lead of Santa Rosa and Palm Beach. I will address briefly the statement I have made about any book that encourages children to read voluntarily is good for them as supplemental to their education. Several hearings back, I discussed with you and with the group that was here a study that was done in Texas of 8th grade English teachers who were having a difficult time getting their kids to read assigned reading. So what they did instead was they threw out all the assigned reading and put into their classroom libraries a lot of young adult fiction and nonfiction. And they had them read the books. And sometimes they were reading material that was as some of the things that were shown up there, someone shooting somebody else. But the study showed that just because characters in a book did something did not make the students that were reading those books go out and want to shoot somebody. In fact, the study finding was the children, the 8th graders that read those books and they had a character that had some difficulties or was outside the norm, they felt sorry for and sympathized with and tried to understand the differences because it broadened their horizon. It did not make them fall into bad behavior. And to suggest that just because the book When Aidan Becomes a Brother is on the shelf would make any other child necessarily decide that they were the opposite sex does not make any sense. The other comment I want to make is we've heard about the pronoun statute. That's the statute that starts out by saying that one's sex at birth is immutable and cannot change. That's called the pronoun statute because it's the one that says you're not supposed to call, if you are a transgender male, you're called Mr., you're not called Ms., even though you're transgender. There was a very recent preliminary injunction hearing in a case in federal court here in Florida. It was brought by a transgender teacher from Hillsborough County, Miss Woods, who had been called Miss Woods for a year or two before the law changed. And she had on her blackboard the words, she, her. And they had no problem, she was doing that. She was Miss Woods to all her students, and she was teaching 8th grade algebra. When the statute came out about pronouns, Hillsborough County said, you have to be Mr. Woods now. You have to be him, her, him, he, him. You can't be Miss Woods again. And she sued. And she sought a preliminary injunction. And what a preliminary injunction is a request that the court forbid Hillsborough County from making her change what she was called while the lawsuit was going on. It's not a final decision, but the judge granted the preliminary injunction. He granted it, and when you do that, there has to be a showing by Miss Woods that she was substantially likely to succeed on the merits, that it was a question of public